to někde chválit, jo, píše se to D, A, K, U. Kdyby se vám to třeba nelíbilo, jo, opakuju, píše se to B, I, T, K, A, že takhle se můžete klidně vyjadřovat. Svoje otázky, prosím vás, posílejte přes Slido, tam můžete taky hlasovat pro otázky ostatních. Máme tady taky připravený mikrofon pro otázky z publika, tak ho určitě využijte jako takovou osobní hvězdnou bránu, jo, přímo za mistrem Brejtakem. Můžete se ptát anglicky nebo česky, i u toho mikrofonu můžete klidně česky, my už si s tím nějak poradíme. A kdo by chtěl simultánní tlumočení, tak ať si rychle pošle Jaffu do stánku s merčem, který je tamhle na chodbě, pro sluchátka, a ty z vás, co už je mají, tak ať si je zapnou, protože přepínáme do angličtiny a začínáme. Please, give a warm welcome to your favorite Jaffa and Jedi Master, Tony Amendola!
Boy, a Sunday morning, huh? Look at you, Sunday morning.
Yeah, look how many people got up, you know, for you.
I'm impressed, thank you.
How are you enjoying the convention so far?
You know, I'm really enjoying it. It's fun that I've been able to meet people who I met 10 years ago. You know, and they've been all so kind. They say, "Oh, you haven't aged at all." I don't know about that. But no, it's been wonderful. Václav and Sylvia and Vladimir. I mean, just really everybody's been just really, really great. And I really appreciate it because it's nice to feel this welcome on a Sunday morning.
Well, Tony, before we sit down, we have a serious matter that we have to deal with, you know, because there was this big catchphrase contest on our Facebook, you know, where each of our guests would have their most famous catchphrase in a contest, and there were duels, and you just defeated everyone, you know.
Yes!
With step downs, and it was the fans who determined that actually you won this year's contest for the best catchphrase of the Comiccon 2022. And we have Václav Pravda, the director of Czech Comiccon, here to present you the award.
Wow, look at this! Whoa!
Řekneš nám tomu něco?
Já blahopřeju vítězi, děkuji vám, kteří jste se zúčastnili v naším turnaji hlášek. A doufám, že teda ta obliba toho turnaje bude pokračovat dál. Nás to baví, je to krásný nápad, je tam spousta humoru kolem toho i v těch komentářích, za které děkujeme. No a blahopřeju vítězi. Ještě jednou blahopřeju vítězi. Získání dalo krásné sešky Comiccon, kterou vytiskl na tiskárnách 3D Průša, vytiskli naši kamarádi a partneři z 3D Průša Research.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
actually,
you.
it's 3D printed. And Tony, do you have any idea which catchphrase of you won?
Máte víc té civice. More or less?
Yeah, máte víc té 4C. Yeah.
Máte víc té vícice.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Thank you so much. This is nice. It's wonderful to take something beautiful home from the Czech Republic. So thank you. Thank you.
Catchphrase was actually from the Serpent Lair episode,
yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was your second one,
Correct.
Stargate. Have you thought after the first season they were going to bring you back?
No, you know, I thought it was a one-off, but I did know the chemistry was really good between Chris and myself, but the surprise was that we discovered an adversarial relationship with Richard Dean Anderson, which was funny, you know, and so that was really useful. And then it sort of made sense. It's funny because very often they tell you, oh, it's going to be a recurring role, this is going to come back. And this one was organic. You know, we created sort of a nice thing and they wanted to write for it. And then Chris, being Chris, he wrote his own scripts. I think he wrote 3 or 4. And every time he wrote a script, I was in it. So there it is. So it was a big surprise, but it was great fun. Because, you know, it's so hard as a guest star when you come in for one episode. You know, you come in for one episode and you're on the spot. But when you keep coming back, then it's great. Because you feel like a family.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned Richard Dean Anderson.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was the same episode where you had this wonderful line, I will lead, you will follow.
You will follow.
How hard, because he was the #1 on the set, you know, this legend, RDA.
Yeah.
And you had to command him like that.
That was the fun. That was the fun. You know, it's called it's called the Abbott and Costello. If you know what Abbott and Costello, you know, was a great comedian, and Abbott, who fed the straight lines that weren't funny, was as important as Costello, who got all the laughs. And so it's a balance thing. And Richard, one of the favorite fan moments. And again, it's in the writing, is when I reappear at Serpent's Lair, you don't know it's me, I have a pneumonic helmet, and all of a sudden the helmet opens, I don't say a word, and I just give him a punch in the face. Because again, he's put Tilk in danger. He did exactly what I feared he was going to do. And then the other great part of that episode was we ended up in a glider together. And they said, oh, it'll be 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most. And we were there for like a couple of hours. This was up on a big arm, a crane. It was up 30 feet. And they had what do they call it? A nut drill, you know, where they lock you in.
Like they screw you in?
Yes, they screwed us in. And we're like, you know, but Richard, a very funny story. If you want to know one of his favorite musicals, it's Man of La Mancha. Because we sang show tunes. If you can imagine Braytac and O'Neill singing show tunes in a glider up 30 feet, that's what we did.
And for how long you were suspended there?
Well, probably at least 90 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, because whenever they say it's going to be 30 minutes, you can triple it. Just the way it is.
Did you went to bathroom right before that?
That was my worry.
Can you tell us how were you cast as a Braytac anyway? Because the Stargate was quite a big hit even back then in the first season. So I guess it was kind of difficult to get in.
No, you know, I didn't even know what it was. I'll be completely honest with you. I knew the movie and I enjoyed the movie, but when the series came up, 133-year-old Jaffa warrior, this and that. All I saw was Vancouver. The reason is my wife and I, on our first trip married, we went to the Canadian Rockies. And we went to Vancouver, then went to Banff and Jasper, which I recommend highly. Really pristine, beautiful wilderness. And so we had such a marvelous time in Vancouver. All I thought was Vancouver. But then I got the job. I had just finished Zorro, which is a great time to go look for a job. Because it was a big film with Antonio Banderas and Anthony Hopkins, and no one knows if it's going to be a hit or a turkey. So they all sort of want you because, oh, we can get him because he was just in this big movie. So it's a good time to look for a job as an actor. But then I went up, and it occurred to me, I was going up for Vancouver, and I'm 133 years old. So that means at 3 o'clock in the morning in a makeup chair, which is not fun. And so I went in, I did my fitting, and I was going to leave, and the AD said, Tony, Jan Newman, who's the key makeup person, the head of makeup, wants to see you. I thought, oh, here it is. And I went in, and I said, hi, I'm Tony, I'm playing Braytac, and she looked at me very carefully. And she says, oh, you'll be fine. And now I was insulted, you know. But I'll tell you the other thing, an interesting thing. There was a director named Mario Azzopardi who directed that episode, my first episode. He also directed the pilot. He was a big Maltese guy, just full of life, just, you know, and he encouraged it. He participated in the character. No, Tony, we need to go bigger, we need to, you know, and it was wonderful. When you get a director like that, because you feel like we're both working on the character. He wasn't saying, oh, that's awful, what are you doing? It was like, no, I like that more. And so he's part of Braytak's gene pool.
Audience question from Friday, actually, it was leftover. What was the biggest challenge of playing Braytak?
The biggest challenge was really the physical challenge of wearing the outfit and wanting to do justice to the story and wanting to do justice. And with the outfit, you realize it's not just the outfit, which was about 40 pounds. It was where we shot. If you recall, most of Prague, the crew was so happy to see me after a while because we got on well, and then they thought, oh no, we're going to a gravel pit, which is where we shot in these quarries all the time. They're thinking, oh no. So it was dealing with that, but I can't say, even that, as I was telling someone yesterday, was not difficult because it served the character. It helped me create the character. You know, the fatigue of wearing it, the bulk of it, it helped me enormously. So I can't say there was anything really that difficult because I really enjoyed doing the series and to be part of what was already a good movie, and I believed it was going to be a great series. And it lasted 10 years. So, yeah.
Well, we have a follow-up audience question about that. How was it to wear the iron cap?
Hot. No, are you talking about the hat?
Yeah.
The Jafamaka? We used to call that the Jafamaka. Jafamaka.
Jafamaka.
Yeah. Like a yarmulke, only a Jafamaka. That's what we used to call it. You know, it was hot. But not as tough as wearing the pneumatic helmet, the one that opens. That is harder because that's big and you got it's attached to a tank and a metal. It's like a guillotine is closing, you know, an inch from your eyes and nose. But again, it helped the character, and eventually they wanted to get rid of it when I became more of a diplomat, as they did. So when I was a warrior, I would still wear the Jaffa cap, and when I wasn't, I'd wear my natural head.
Another audience question is, you appeared in 26 episodes altogether on the SG1. Which episode is your favorite?
Threshold.
Oh, so you enjoy watching Christopher Judge suffer?
I enjoy watching Christopher Judge suffer. Without question, he suffers well. But it was our backstory. And it was I forget, that must have been the 8th or 9th episode, I forget. And it was the first time that I really felt like I belonged. The people were very kind, and you're going, and you get to know people, and you feel welcome. But the very next episode I did, after Threshold, Brad Wright came down and said to me, I didn't cut a single frame of yours from this episode. Not a single word or frame. And that's all he said. And you knew he was happy, and that made me happy. So it was good. And also Peter DeLuise was directing. It's the backstory of Tilk and Braytak. Really important backstory. It had humor in it. For instance, the fight in the snow, which was originally very formal and very, that we added a little bit of silliness to it, you know, into that scene where I bop him. And if you watch that scene, I'm trying to go Tilk on. I'm trying to get him to challenge me to see if he's the one, if he is the savior. And so it's a really interesting scene. And Peter DeLuise, who he's a crazy director. I hope you get a chance to meet him. His father was Dom DeLuise, who was a really big comedian. And Peter sort of has that crazy comedy, that crazy energy. And the interesting thing about him is sometimes with directors, they don't really understand actors. So if we have a problem, they don't know how to fix us. They don't know what to tell us, you know. But Peter, he knew how to, so if you really had a problem, he'd joke about it for 10 minutes and then he'd maybe give you a suggestion that was useful. So
you quite explored the relationship between Braytek and Thiel, and you basically were like a father figure to him.
Right.
What was your real relationship with Christopher
With
Judge?
Chris?
Because we heard a lot about him and Sean.
Well, he was here. He was here.
He was in Göteborg, actually.
Oh my God! Yeah. I'm surprised. I mean, I've been to that town. That town's not big enough for Chris. It's not big enough for his personality. I always say, yeah, that's a common question. What is Chris? What is it like? I say he's the complete package. Great. He's like a giant. He's got a child in him. He's got an id, but he's also just incredibly bright and incredibly human and warm. Yeah, he made my job so much easier. They say an actor should be able to play a love scene with a couch. No, you know, if the actress doesn't like the actor, or the actor doesn't like the actress, they imagine someone they love, someone they care about. With Chris, it was easy, you know. You just care about him. And his struggles, I just have a lot of admiration for him. He's doing God of War now, you probably know that. Yeah.
Well, I was wondering, because, yeah, as you mentioned, I don't still believe that Christopher really was in Göteborg, because I don't know how many of you guys have been to Göteborg. Maybe you can describe it for us. What was your impression of Göteborg and the convention there?
The convention I loved, but the town was...
Yeah, you blink and it's
gone. But, you know, it was fun. It was fun because I wanted to see the Czech countryside. And the great Czech treasure, David Nickel was there. But you know, David is not the only great Czech actor I've worked with. I worked with another actor who some of you would know if you're older, Jan Triska.
Oh, everybody knows him.
Yeah, we did a play together in Los Angeles.
Did you?
Yeah,
Which one?
It was called Tamara. It was based on Tamara Delimpicka, who was a Polish artist. You probably have seen her, the woman with the cap, blonde in a roadster. She was Art Deco. It's very, very popular. And it was about her meeting with D'Annunzio, an Italian poet and stuff. It was a production in a house that was renovated, and it was a very big ticket. And Jan, we would alternate. So the job, they'd allow you to go in, and when you got film and television, they'd allow you to leave, you know, so you can continue. So when Jan got a film, I'd go in for Jan, and then as soon as I got something, Jan would come back. And I was so sad to hear when he passed away. Yeah.
What are you talking about? Jan's voice. It's an old gun. Where's the gun?
Well, what I found when researching for this piece, because, you know, I was trying to get to my old questions so I wouldn't have to think about new ones. But I have found this news article. Poprosím režii o fotku Blesk. Well, this is one of the most sold newspapers in Czech Republic. And this was the article about your visit. It says, the Stargate opened in Czech Republic, Braytek peed on a tree. The tree is becoming an artifact. That was the coverage.
You have to love the Czech press, right? You just have to love it. Oh, that's fun.
I just wanted to let you know that Christopher really picked up on that.
Ah.
And, added his contribution to the artifact.
I'm sorry, yes, he's been eating on a lot of trees. Oh, that's marvelous. I've never seen that. That's good.
Yeah, me neither. I just when I did my research, this was wonderful. Just to let you know, because in Kotěboř, it's very different than Comiccon, you know. And then there's this cinema called Družba, where all the panels were held, and there are no toilets for guests. They would have to either go through the whole hall, or just go around the corner from the cinema, and there was this bush. Legendary bush.
Legendary. Every Star Trek, Stargate, Star anything.
Yeah, unfortunately they had to cut it down last year because the good news is they're making a new part of the cinema with toilets.
Oh.
But they had to cut the tree. I just really hope that someone kept the wood and is going to make like a nice stuff weapon out of it or something. But
yeah.
But I want, Christopher in Kotěboř, still a very weird image. Did you put any good word for us to get him there, or was that completely?
Well, yeah, I did say I had a good time. I did say I had a good time, and Chris has a larger appetite for liquor than I do. I said you'll have a never-ending stein of people and everything. No, I'm sure Chris is very adventurous, so I'm sure he wanted to come, and I imagine he would come here in a second.
Yeah, I hope so. Please give your good word.
I promise you.
To us again.
I promise you.
Oh, thank you. Stargate questions from the audience about the cast. Like, who was your favorite character from Stargate, aside from Braytak, obviously, and Tilo?
Favorite character or favorite actor? Favorite
You can answer
character?
both.
Yeah. It was nice to play one of the good guys, but all my life I've played more of the villain. So, I was intrigued by Baal and by some of the other, Apophis not so much, because I didn't feel like I fit with that, but I was very happy to play Braytak. And Chris is obviously one of the favorite people, but Carmen Agenziano, sometimes there are long hours when you work on a television series. So sometimes when you hear actors being spoiled, they're gone 14, 15, 16 hours they need. So, but when you're out of town, everyone goes home because of the long hours, and then you're at the hotel. And so I spent a lot of time with Carmen, and we became very, very good friends. And he just died this year. And my funniest story about Carmen is that Stargate used to have 2 condominiums in Vancouver. And they'd alternate, we'd be in one or the other. And we were doing an episode together. And I thought, great, that's wonderful, Carmen's there. And then I get a phone call, he says, Tony, can I drop by the apartment? Sure, come on over. He comes over, and all of a sudden he says, do you mind if I go, I need to check for something under the sink. I said, sure, okay. Anyway, to make a long story short, he used to stash his marijuana there. So when he was there, and he didn't know what to do because they had changed the apartment. So I always remember, thanks, and then he turned around and left. But yeah, so Carmen, I love Don Davis because we would have what were called geezer dinners. All the older actors would get together and have dinners. I was close to Tiro as well. I still stay in touch with Tiro. Amanda was the welcome wagon. Amanda was the one who made everyone feel comfortable initially. She broke the ice. She was the outgoing one. She spoke to you if you were a new actor. And the guys were more like guys, But Amanda was very generous. And Richard was Richard. I'll tell you an interesting story. I wouldn't be here. When I met Richard, I didn't understand. I had seen him in a couple of things, but I knew he was well known, but And his attitude, his use, how he created that character was so irreverent that sometimes it would bleed into rehearsals. It would, he'd just be a wise ass. He'd just be making remarks and, stuff. And in our first episode, I was almost going to tell him, hey, would you cut it out? I'm working here. Big mistake. That would have been a big mistake. And I'm so glad I bit my tongue. But primarily, I think because of Mario. Because Mario would look at me like, that's Richard, But then I learned that was Richard. That was the character. That was O'Neill. That we were the rest of the cast blew up a balloon, with all this sci-fi speak and all of this stuff. And Richard would spend that entire scene trying to find a pen to blow it up. And so if he would ad-lib constantly, constantly. And once you understood that, it was fine. And the thing I love, one of my favorite things about Stargate, was when they cornered Richard and forced him to be serious in a scene. When he really had to be serious. Because he could be very serious. And I really admired that. So we got on very well, Once I understood him. But thank God I kept my mouth shut,
Richard and Nancy, we've got a question from the audience. Was RDA as crafty in real life as he was in MacGyver?
He wanted to be. Yeah, he had such a great career. You forget, he went from a soap, many years on a soap, to MacGyver, to Stargate. And by the time he got to Stargate, to be honest with you, he was also interested in the environment. There's something called Sea Shepherds. I don't know if you've ever known that organization. It's a very militant organization to stop whaling and stop those types of things in the ocean. So he was very, very much into that. And his dream was to do documentaries. He was a really adventurous, a kid from Minnesota, which is in the northern section of the States, hockey and, snow sports. And so he was what he was. And by the time he got to Stargate, he was a fully developed pain in the ass sometimes. But he was our pain in the ass. And he brought such warmth and humor to the show. If you know the movie, you realize you can't play it the way Kurt Russell played it in a series. You can't play it. If you do that, you end up with Stargate Universe or something. It's so dark and dystopian that it's very good, but it won't carry for a long period of time. I don't think you'd have families watching it full, young children and their parents and their parents' parents. So Richard knew that, I think. And so he found his way, as opposed to trying to create some sort of a Kurt Russell clone. And I thought it was really wise of him. So.
Well, we've got people queuing that.
Okay.
So we've got some audience.
Mr. Britak. I'd like to ask you about your funniest scene from the Stargate show. What is it?
The funniest scene was the one I thought, obviously some of the stuff with Richard, we'll cross that bridge, those things. Hammond of Texas, obviously, but my favorite moment was the scene in Threshold where we're training Chris. And two things, and some of you may know this story. Chris came to me before that scene. We shot it out in the snow outside of Vancouver, and he said, I have an idea. You were training, right? I said, yeah, we're training. He said, we should be both naked, fully naked to the waist, because we're butch men. We are warriors. And I said, yeah, that's a great idea. And then I thought, it's cold. So I went up, I said, Chris, I got it better. I'm the teacher. I'm the Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're the student, you need to be. And he said, you're right. And you cut to 2 hours later and there's... There's a great moment, again, it's set up, challenge me, see what you have, challenge me. And he does, and as opposed to just going into the fight, we do a very formal thing, which it's very sort of Asian, where we sort of bow before, and I bow to him, and as soon as he bows to me, I take the staff and hit him right in the head. So it's almost like anything goes in this fight. And, that was my idea, I wanted to add that levity to it, and, because it was goofy, too. Very unlike Braytac in a kind of way. And Peter DeLuise just loved it. From the moment I did it in rehearsal, he just, keep that. Just keep that. I think it's because he wanted someone to finally hit Chris in the head.
Yeah.
I think that's what it really was about. A lot of people ask me if Chris has directed, and to my knowledge, he did not. But he wrote many scripts, and my feeling of the reason he did not direct is he was such a practical joker. It's such a pain in the ass, and so that he knew if he directed, everyone would give him a tough time. Nothing would be easy for him. The grips, the electrics, everything would go awry. So I think that's why he thought, I'll stay away from that.
I have actually a quite similar question. Maybe you answered it already. Well, let's see. What was the most memorable scene you filmed? Well, not scene we as viewers saw in that, but filming. And if it was the scene you just mentioned.
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind, and again, maybe some of you have heard this. It was in an episode, I'm trying to remember what the episode was. But we were shooting, it was the episode where there's 100 Jaffa dead, and we share a symbiote. That scene was incredible, to film, because we had to wait.
Changeling.
Yes, we had to wait for perfect light. They often will wait in film and television for a golden light towards late afternoon. And we were shooting by a river, the Fraser River, which is right by the airport, not far from the airport. And at that point, it must have been the 4th year or something, but there was a question if we would come back. There was a question. And it was all this debate, and I'm listening, and it's Chris, and the others there, we're coming back, no, we're not coming back, we're not coming back. And I'm watching the river. And I don't know if you know salmon, they spawn and they jump and they go upstream. So all the salmon are running at this point. And they're catching the light. It's gold. And the other actors are arguing, and I say, we're coming back. And they look at me like, how do you know? I said, we're coming back. How do you know? I said, even the salmon are jumping up to see Stargate. True story. The thing you got to realize about Stargate 2 is when we first started, we were on Showtime. Showtime is a premium station like HBO, which means it's not for everyone. It's an additional charge. And to get 2 million people watching on Showtime is successful, but it's, at least at that time, it wasn't the numbers of regular cable or network. And we were so fortunate that Sci-Fi Channel was created, because that was the perfect fit. It was like, husband and wife. It was just perfect when it was created. Because Showtime, they did everything. Showtime did everything, but all of a sudden when it went, I think it was one of the earliest big hits on Sci-Fi. So it worked very well. Yeah.
Thank you. Nice.
Welcome.
When Christopher was here, he did it, so I'm asking you, do you know any other Jaffa jokes?
Okay. There were 3 aliens that were going through various planets. And one alien says, I can tell you where we are just by sticking my arm out of the ship. He says, Doc. He said, I can tell you where we are, sticking my arm out of the ship. He says, okay, show me. So he sticks his arm out of the ship. He says, I don't know. It's sort of wet. It's sort of, I don't know. There's a lot of trees. It must be Canada. So that's the Tauri, right? The other guy sticks his arm out, and says, this must be Ori country. I don't know, something cold, and everyone's just very... Finally, I stick my arm out and go, oh! What's going on? I said, it must be Chulak, my watch is gone. I just made that up, I hope
Gold have a lot of interesting technology. Is there any technology you think that would be great to have in the real world?
Sarcophagus would be fabulous. Yes, yeah, that would be great. A little symbiote help. What do you think? You know, a little pick me up, little lizard pick me up. Oh, yeah. That was so much fun to play, you know, with the lizards because you had to sort of make them alive and stuff. Yeah. You know, the glue technology is a Pandora's box, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So I would stay away from that. I did like, you know, some of Jacob's things, you know, Carmen's idea. You know, we were still a little primitive. We were still fighting it out, you know. So. Has Peter been here? Peter Williams. Mm-hmm. Has he been here?
No,
he hasn't.
We never.
Yeah.
You played other things than Target.
No.
Are you aware of that?
No.
And we also have some questions about those roles. But I wanted to ask you, because so many times you would play like a villain or a priest, especially.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea
Why a priest?
Why a priest and villain at the same time? It's such a weird combination.
Well, one of the first things you have to do as an actor, and this is very hard, you have to look carefully in the mirror, carefully, and try to see how the world sees you. It's nothing to do with what's inside yet. It's about, you know, inside's a whole different thing, you know, but it's how they see you, and then you need to go out and get those roles. Mm-hmm. Those roles you need to get. Meanwhile, while you're getting those roles and working the villain's role, in the back you're thinking, if I can get successful, what do I want to do? And then you get into the priests and the geppettos, and as I got older, I started playing nicer people. You know, I have a friend who says he plays wackos, weirdos, and wimps. And he did that for many years. I have another friend, I kid you not, who's made a great career on television playing the weeping man. Every episodic that calls for a middle-aged man to cry, he gets the role. And he's so funny. He's a marvelous actor. That's not all he is, but that's a great skill. And he put together a tape of him crying in about 15 series. And I tell you, he showed us to it, and we laughed so hard, you know. But that's it, that we are, you know, like everyone else. I have a child, I have a gentle person, I have an angry person, I have so much inside of me, like we all do. But we do have a box that we have to understand. And that box can be a blessing or a curse. Like, for instance, you wouldn't think it, but you talk to a beautiful actress, a really beautiful actress, and I guarantee you she will tell you she feels limited by her beauty, the way they see her, because she's so beautiful. Hence, Charlize Theron, what's her name?
Charlize Theron?
Theron. She got her Oscar.
Mm-hmm. For being ugly.
For being ugly, yeah. She, you know, you get that power. That's a perfect example of front room, back room. What you're selling in the front of the store and what you're hoping to sell. So she got all that power, and then she I think it was called Monster. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the movie she made, where she's playing a street person, a druggy street person. You know, and that's simply the way it is. So you have to, and consequently, the face I was born with is the face I was born with. So, but it served me well, and I'm happy.
Some questions about Once Upon a Time. It was another big hit you were in, and the questions are like, your character was a handy carpenter. Are you handy yourself?
Not at all. Ask my wife. My wife is the handy one, believe it or not. I generally mess it up and she fixes it. Now, you have to understand, just because I'm not handy doesn't mean I don't try. I do try. I take it apart, I do everything, and I say, I'm gonna fix this, and I never get back to her. And she comes, matter of fact, right, I spoke to her last night, and she removed all the grout in our kitchen around the thing. This is what, so I'm thinking, good, thank you. But, you know, it's funny what you're asked to do that you have no skill at all, and it's a testament to your suspension of belief that we can convince you that we know what we're doing. No idea, you know.
Well, another once upon a time question as Geppetto. You had an excellent Italian accent. Are accents natural for you, or do you need to really work on that?
I do work on them, they've become easier, but I also, non so, c'è qualcuno che parla italiano? C'è qualcuno? Ah, allora.
Was?
Questo è
Was?
No, I said allora. No, who said was? I said was.
No. Stupid Jaffa joke from the start.
Okay. I'm sorry. Allora, you know, ho preso questo tempo di pandemia per imparare il mio italiano. Allora adesso posso parlare di più. So, am I okay? I hope. Okay. You know, I grew up with some Italian and some Spanish, and I love languages. I won't lie to you and say I'm a natural. There are some actors who just simply, they absorb it. It's like it goes into their skin. I like to study it. I've done Italian, I've done Spanish, I've done Russian, I've done Middle Eastern, I've done French, I've done, you know, you just do it. And it's not like I can pull out of a hat. I need to go back and, you know, re-study. I love the rhythms of language. You know, there was a great comedian, Sid Caesar, who did all the dialects in gibberish, just through rhythms. Just the rhythms of the language. It was fascinating. So,
we have another audience.
Tak Matej, it's funny that you are talking about Spanish because my question is two parts. First is some little test. When if I say name Don Luis, will you know what film about I'm talking?
what is it? Oh, Don Luis.
Don Luis.
Yes.
Yeah?
La Máscara di Sal. Yes. Yes. Lovely.
Second part, what was working with Anthony Hopkins?
That was a dream. And I'll tell you why it was a dream. When I was a student, I would go sometimes in between Philadelphia, where I was in school, and New Haven. And New York is right in the middle. So when I was a student, I saw a production of Equus. Equus was a Peter Shaffer play. I don't know if you know it, about a boy who blinds horses. Yes, it was made into a movie, Richard Burton, and a psychiatrist who's treating him. And Anthony Hopkins was doing this on Broadway, and it was done with an audience, but also like a Greek theater with audience behind. And they sold these seats to students for $5. And I got one of those seats. And my mouth just dropped to be that close to talent. So the show was over, and I went across the street to grab a cup of tea, a cup of coffee. Half hour later, who walks in? Anthony Hopkins. And I'm on my way out, and generally I'm shy. I wouldn't say that. I would nod and smile, but I wouldn't. But for him, I stopped and said, I'm a student of acting. I saw your performance, and I don't know what to say. Thank you. And I started to leave, and he said, whoa. Just come back, please. Where do you study? You know, what are you interested in? Or do you plan to be an actor? She gave me 3 to 5 minutes of his time. And it made such an impression on me that you then cut, that must have been in 1977 or so. You cut to 1997, and now I'm on a film with him. That's the amazing thing, and that's why it was so special to have done that with him, and he was so fun. And I don't know if you know a lot of his work. In the middle of Zorro, he left to go do Amistad, because they were both Steven Spielberg, Amblin Productions, so they did the schedule so he could do Zorro and I think he played John Adams in Amistad. He was nominated for Academy Award, actually. But he was great. And he shaved his head completely. And all the little kids from Mexico, they would follow him around. And they had seen, of course, Silence of the Lambs. So you'd see him, and he'd wink at you, he'd go. And there'd be, 5, 6, it was like the Pied Piper. They'd all follow him around, and then he'd turn around and go, and all the kids would scream and run away. Yeah. So, anyway, it was an honor to work with him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to say you still look like for 132.
I was thinking the other day, so it was 133 and 97, so that would be 35 years, so I would be 168, thank you.
The shaving of the head, there was a question like, there are not that many roles that you would shave your beard for. How did you choose a role that was worth it?
Anybody who asks me to shave my beard, I will do it if it's for a job. If it's for a job. I've shaved it for, often you have to shave for video games.
Oh,
Because mocap, because they do facial scans. And when they're doing your facial scan, you can't have facial hair. Now, isn't it funny in Star Wars, Fallen Jedi, right? I had to shave and do all of that, and what did they do? They put a goatee on me. I have a goatee. I had to shave it for it. Generally, it's for prosthetic things. I was thinking, I've had this since maybe 1982. I was doing a play and I trimmed it for that. And I had a beard. Everyone had a beard back then, but I clipped it down. And so I was angry when the hipsters came. All of a sudden, all these hipsters are wearing goatees, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's my look.
Yeah, I think that all happens to us when, sci-fi and everything became, mainstreamly popular.
Right.
We're used to be, the only geeks, and now
Right.
everybody wears a Star Superman t-shirt or something.
Listen, I think there's, the lessons is be nice to your geeks in high school, because they're going to be your employers of the future. They're going to be the directors, the creators of material. I'm going to be doing that. The cool people are going to be, please give me a job. It's funny. How things change. Like I love tattoos, but I don't have any tattoos. It was a different generation. And back then, when acting-wise, it was sort of frowned upon because I'd worn tattoos, but I don't have any. But now, the body art is incredible. It truly is amazing when I see some people that have commemorate big events in their life through choice of art. As an actor, I think it's hard.
Quite some questions about video games. You were voice acting as Archmage Khadgar. In the game of World of Warcraft. Do you have any stories about it? And have you ever played the final product?
Really loosely, it's not something that our generation does very much. I played a little bit. I have to be guided. But someone gave me a challenge. Someone came, and it was really wonderful. I don't know if she's here, but I was really appreciated. The thing about Khadgar is that he's a cousin of Braytak. The values are actually very similar. And I struggled with that at first. I thought, I have to make it completely different. And then I realized I worked with casting with the director, and that's not what they wanted. They wanted this quality. So I said, okay, so he's a cousin. So there was a couple of small different things. But what was interesting is it was just a choice that I realized video games had gotten so popular. So there was so much that I'm going to get a voice agent to do some voice work. And I wasn't even thinking of video games at the time. I was just thinking of voice work. First job, Khadgar.
in the biggest video game at that time.
Really lucky, and I didn't even know. I mean, I'd heard World War, but I didn't know what it was. I probably would have been more nervous at the audition if I had known. And they were great because I did an audition, and they were very interested, but they asked me to do a redo. They often do that sometimes because they want to see, a director will do it. They'll say, okay, he or she is perfect, but can I work with them? So sometimes they'll ask you to do something that's not right, but they want to see how you react. And that happened in Kaggar, just a slightly different thing, I thought. And it was so wonderful to have done it because it's the gift that keeps giving. In other words, you do one audition, but you get 25 days of work, say, because it's all done, in a sound studio, so it's, it was a wonderful job, and I really like it.
You talk about languages, so I would like to ask, do you like the Gaelic language, the Jaffa speak, and how many words can you say? And Jaffa Cree doesn't count.
Not that many, John Locke, not really that many. I've forgotten them all, but I bet you haven't.
Do you have any special request, what you need to hear from Master Breta?
I was just interested whether you like this language.
I did, yeah, it was fun. It's fun. I have to admit, I made up a couple of things.
Just on the spot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it has to sound right, otherwise they want, oh, that's good, okay. What is it? Oh, God, what is it? What's the word for asshole?
There is a Jaffa word, shoulder?
Shoulder. Everyone had their own translation of that. And Chulnak was something that is basically good luck, on your voyage. And, but it's gone, I have to say. But I'm telling you, if it started tomorrow, it would be back like that. It's like a different world. It's almost like, you know what it is? It's almost like we have different, what are the little computer geekies thing? Memories.
Diskettes?
Well, the little guy. Shows you how technical I am.
Flash disk.
Flash discs. I have a flash disc for World of Warcraft. I have one for Star Wars, and I have a huge one for Stargate. But I just need to get it back in there. I've been trying to go. What was I looking at? I heard the wonderful symphony yesterday, the River Symphony. The classic Czech symphony. And I was amazed because I knew that music, but I didn't know that it was in honor of the river that I was standing in front of at the time. So there's a lot, it's a lot to keep up there. But I will tell you this. Someone finally explained the definition of Italian Alzheimer's to me. You know what Italian Alzheimer's is? You forget everything but the vendettas. That's Italian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Video game, acting, we definitely have to mention your Stavros work, because you're one of the very few actors that have been in Star Trek, in Stargate, and in Star Wars. Yeah?
And in Babylon 5.
But that's not a star.
Thank you. So I needed to do Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar. Yeah, that would work. That would work. They would have to bring it back for you. But no, but my question is because in the Fallen Order, you were not only just doing the voice, but also the likeness, the character.
Okay.
Just it looks absolutely like you.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the image was so blurred. It's like the motion capture wouldn't have to be so thorough because it's all pixelated.
Right.
Even through those pixels, you can feel the friendship, and that's what was so critically acclaimed about it. The friendship you had with that non-existent little droid. How was that? You're playing. Did you at least get Jedi robe or something on you?
Yes. No. I have the suit on.
Like spandex?
Spandex
dots.
with the hat and the dots and the beak. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like a metal beak with a camera and then lights. so it's very hard to do touching things or intimate things. But my relationship with that little guy is why I wanted to do it. That's why I wanted to do it. And, you know, and they cut a lot of it because you can ad-lib, you know. Oh yes, easy for you to say, you know. Or it's just, you know, tons of little, and he's so adorable. And it reminded me a little bit of, for the people that know Castaway. You know that movie, Tom Hanks' movie Castaway, where he makes friends with
The
basketball.
Wilson Ball, yeah.
It's called Spalding's. Is it Wilson?
Wilson.
Wilson.
It was Wilson,
Wilson.
yeah.
Those are two different brands, Wilson and Spalding. It's Wilson. Your heart is broken when that.
Yeah.
And that was a similar feeling. I was trying a similar relationship to the droid in that, and it was so great because they have the droid, so you keep your eye line, but there's a little guy behind it with a little whistle going. My mouth is dry, so I can't do it. You know, and he's like in Japanese theater, there's I think they're called kogans. They're in black and you're not supposed to see them. They're completely doing the puppets, and that's what he is. It's like that, and but it was such fun to be part of that world.
Wonderful. Well, I'm not mentioning it just by chance.
Okay.
Because some of the fans in Czech Republic have decided that you gave us so much that we really need to give you something back.
Wait a minute, I already have this.
More fans in Czech Republic have decided that we need to give something back to you. And those fans are coming here right now. I'd like to invite to the stage the Rebel Legion Lion Base, which is a charitable organization. Star Wars. And they will say the rest of themselves.
Rebel Legion, Star Wars organization, we are granting you this welcome as honorary member of our organization, and it's all for your incredible work for Star Wars. And we thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Wow. I hope you brought a big suitcase.
I know. Well, I'll tell you one thing. At least I can show this to my wife. This, I don't know. Thank you so much. I have to say just one thing before I go. I had such fond memories of being here the last time, and the last two times, actually. And you worry sometimes. You think, well, was it just my imagination? Was it where my mind space at the time? But you guys, no. You are as wonderful as I remember. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.